Hello, my name is Savannah Carpenter, and my interest behind my research topic was that um, in the modern West, Christianity is a very popular religion and celebrated internationally. And in ancient history, we know that Roman and Greek polytheism used to be the main religion that was practiced. Um, since I am interested in ancient Mediterranean history, I felt that this was going to be a good fit to learn about why the transition from polytheism to monotheism was how that transition happened and how many variables contributed to that transition. To establish what my research question was, it was and is, how did ancient Rome through the years of 350 CE to 450 CE, how did they face Christianization in a world of polytheism? Another part of my research question is what variables contributed to the Christianization of Rome? The answers I gained from my research was that there was not one set answer to why Rome transitioned into Christianity. It was many factors, including slavery, economic, politics, and gender, changing gender roles, and the influence of authority, aristocrats. This is all the research I focused on for these variables. As I was doing my research, my first draft was, to say the least, it didn't address as many variables as I wanted to. After my first draft, I continued to research and I found that a historical figure named Augustine also was a very big theologist during this time and influenced many civilians to convert to Christianity. This in turn gave my paper more credibility and it provided more information on why ancient Rome converted to Christianity. At first, my research question evolved from polytheism to monotheism. After a while, I realized that this was way too broad of a research question since monotheism is very broad, like a spectrum, all the way from Christianity to Islam to another respective religion. So I decided to narrow it down and focus on Christianity and specifically focus on Roman paganism. This helped my audience know exactly what I was shooting for, as well as create more credibility in my research. This created my new question, which was how did Roman polytheism, how was it affected through the transition of Christianization in ancient Rome? My primary sources included Julian, the last paganist emperor. He created many letter collections citing his journeys, his battles, and later on the policies he would enforce to encourage people to stay in paganism. Another primary source I used was Constantine, another Roman emperor after Julian. He was the first Christian emperor, Roman emperor, and he made letter collections as well, citing his faith to God and how he will be changing Julian's policies. The last primary source I've used is Augustine's To the City of God Against Pagans. In this letter, he specifically states that he is very much against paganism and he explains why it must be, let's say, it must be overtaken by Christianity. Now, referring to my secondary sources, I use W.H.C. Friend, his writing style and his research. It referenced a lot of factual information. It did not become opinions-based, and it provided a lot of information about straight facts about the Roman Empire. Another secondary source I used was Page Dubois. They used factual information to provide credibility in their research argument. Their book titled 1,000,001 Gods explains the oppression of paganism during this time of Christianization and what pagans faced during this time. The last secondary reference I will use is Morris's website of Roman art, Roman visual art, statues, and murals of Christian paraphernalia, as well as stories from the Bible, which provide a lot of information of how Romans viewed Christianity and how they interpreted these stories from the Bible. When it came to engaging with other academics, I strived to attend the Writing Center a few times to help with my editing of the paper. This helped me clarify any criticisms that I may have not understood or I needed more help with. Another scholarly engagement I attended was writing sessions with my peers. They helped me realize a lot of my grammatical mistakes and structural mistakes, and it helped me a lot writing my paper and breaking it down. Overall, what I have learned from writing this paper is how to research through databases. Through this, I've researched through JSTOR. I've researched through Loeb, which is the classics database. That is where I gained most of my primary sources, as well as I have learned how to write these kinds of papers for the first time. This was my first time writing this big of a paper, and with the help of my peers and the Writing Center, I have greatly appreciated their help in my process of writing this paper. My last point is that this really made me see two sides of a story. Christianity was an oppressed religion in ancient Rome. They were discouraged from practicing their faith during this time. And when the Christianization officially was transitioning into Rome, there was a shift of pagans eventually having to face that oppression or that stigmatization again. This made me consider both sides of the story. My key takeaway from this paper is that there are still so many historical events that many need to address. Although the Christianization of ancient Rome is very popularly discussed, there are still opportunities to invite and talk about different perspectives from different scholars. This is what I enjoyed most about writing my paper, that I am glad that I am providing a different perspective and I am inviting more discussion about this topic. Thank you for listening.